With patch 324, the usefulness of easy to load, easy to fly and cheap to buy cargo haulers in Star Citizen increased overnight, and those are all areas where the MISC Hull A absolutely shines. So how does the Hull A perform in-game? I'm Forrester, and this video will review the currently flyable MISC Hull A, which is described on the Star Citizen website as a medium freight ship. If you've seen other ship reviews on this channel, then you'll be right at home with this video, which follows the same format. It's split into 5 sections, starting with a ship tour, assessing combat performance, reviewing handling and visibility, looking at the operating costs before finally summarising. As always, I've included timestamps in the video description in case you want to skip ahead. And if you're one of the many people watching who isn't yet subscribed to the channel, you might consider it, so you can be notified of future Star Citizen videos as they go live. And we'll start the tour of the Hull A from the left or port side. This is the Hull A in contracted configuration, meaning it's as small as it gets with the cargo spindles in contracted form. There's a turret beneath the nose that stores the weapons, and to get aboard there's a ladder on the left or port side clearly marked as the airlock. This takes you up into the body of the Hull A. In here there's some component access, as well as a suit locker. Moving to the rear of the ship, we enter the habitation area. There's a weapons locker, a kitchen area, and a bed for logging out in. Right at the back of the habitation area is a small MISC bathroom. It's got all the usual buttons that do all the usual things. On the front of the habitation area is access to the onboard ship storage. Moving further forward back through the airlock and all the way to the front of the ship, we're greeted with the cockpit. In extended configuration, the internals are all exactly the same. The only difference is that externally the cargo spindles are now exposed, giving access to the cargo grid aboard the Hull A. It's important to point out that the Hull A clearly is not a ship designed for combat. That said, the usual format does involve giving a flavour for how the ship performs in that area. The Hull A comes armed with 2 size 1 weapons on a turret beneath the nose. By default, those are 2 Bulldog laser repeaters. That's a fairly meagre armament, which pales in comparison to dedicated combat ships and realistically struggles against all but the smallest of targets that isn't going to fight back. Defensively, the situation is a little better, with 2 size 1 shield generators giving the Hull A at least a modicum of survivability, but again, those shields would not last long against a dedicated attacker. There is some suggestion on Spectrum that this may change to a single size 2 in the near future, which would be a welcome upgrade. So, unsurprisingly, the Hull A isn't a great combat platform. It manages okay against tiny AI targets, but against larger ships or other players in dedicated fighters, it struggles to put up a fight. But then, this is a cargo hauler, so that makes sense. By way of visibility, the Hull A sports the usual MISC-style cockpit with a large semicircle of glass offering great visibility to the front and sides, and somewhat reasonable visibility above and below. As the cockpit is right at the front of the ship, it largely works out okay, as the most used sightlines are still covered. In terms of handling, the Hull A is a cargo hauler, albeit at the smaller size, and handles accordingly. It's not particularly fast, but also not overly slow. At the base SCM speed of 140 meters per second, the Hull A is actually relatively responsive, Although it does drift a little in tight turns, it recovers to forward flight quite quickly. It's worth noting that the physical size of the ship changes depending on whether it's extended or retracted, which means it's important for the pilot to have some situational awareness as to the current length of the ship when piloting. The top speed in nav modes rises to a maximum of 950 meters per second, which helps to cover larger distances quickly. Although there's a notable delay in speeding up or slowing down to those speeds, it's less marked than in other cargo haulers, owing to the smaller size of the Hull A. The stock quantum drive is the Goliath, which isn't the quickest. That said, the quantum fuel stores aboard are more than sufficient to support quicker drives, so upgrading to a faster drive is probably something most cargo haulers would consider doing. As a ship on the smaller side, the Hull A is very cheap to operate, across repair, rearm and refuel, with costs rarely much higher than a few hundred Alpha UEC. That's especially so because the Hull A is the sort of ship you choose to actively avoid combat and therefore repairs. And with patch 324, the Hull A can make fairly decent money, at least relative to the cost of the ship. Either through cargo trading, or perhaps more popularly through completing cargo hauling contracts, the Hull A can rack up some reasonable returns. That's made sweeter by the fact that the ship is easy to fly, easy to load up, and the 64 SCU of cargo storage aboard can carry combinations up to 16 SCU crates, giving a lot of different options for completing contracts. In terms of upgrades, the key one would be to upgrade the quantum drive perhaps to a VK00 or similar military grade drive to drastically cut down travel time, especially for longer hops. Out with that, there's probably not much point spending any more on upgrades, as realistically the Hull A is a ship you probably just want to use to get cargo from A to B as quickly as possible. The absolute best feature about the Hull A is the ability to load the cargo stores externally, which can be done much more quickly than with many other ships. As with other ships in the Hull series, the Hull A can either be in extended or contracted configuration, but unlike some of the others, can still land properly with the cargo spindles fully extended. That makes it highly suitable for situations in which you'd load and unload cargo manually. 64 SCU capacity is not groundbreaking, but for a ship this small and cheap is unmatched and makes it a very effective contractor for small hauling missions. Arguably, having the cargo stored externally on spindles makes it more vulnerable to piracy, but when it's somebody else's cargo, perhaps you don't care quite so much about that. The spindles do come with problems, however. Once the ship is stored, sometimes the Hull A can enter a state where the cargo stores are neither extended nor contracted, which can interfere with auto-loading at a trade console. The fix is simply to load or unload manually, or to buy or sell with the ship out on the pad, but it's a gripe to be aware of. There's not a lot to this ship other than for cargo hauling. The looks will work for some, but to others they might make the Hull A feel very industrial ugly. It does have some utility, like a bed and a small bathroom, as well as some limited future-proofing for things like a weapons locker. The $80 to $90 purchase price is actually quite accessible and not overly expensive for what the Hull A offers. Yes, it only does cargo hauling, but the amount of SCU you get for that price is notably larger than other haulers at a similar tier. And that value is considerably better when looking at the in-game price. Picking up a Hull A at 1.7 million Alpha UEC is an absolute steal. It's competitive for the amount of hauling potential with even the largest of ships, and comes at a very accessible price point at which even those with nothing but a starter ship would be able to unlock in-game and start hauling. Contrast that with the C1 Spirit, which flies better, arguably has a nicer frame, better armament and defences, and more utility. But the C1 Spirit has the same ultimate capacity and is almost twice the price. Don't get me wrong, the C1 is great, a daily driver on this channel, but in terms of value for money, you have to pay a lot more to get a bit more. Accordingly, for anyone with an interest in cargo hauling, especially if they don't yet have a dedicated hauler, the Hull A is an absolutely fantastic buy for Alpha UEC as that starter ship for cargo. But do you agree? What do you think of the Hull A? I'll be interested to read your thoughts and opinions in the video comments. If you enjoyed this video, you might press the like button to help me understand what videos to make more of in future, and if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, you might like to do that too, so that YouTube knows to show you more videos like this in future. But otherwise, and as always, thank you for watching.